Hey, this is Yang Nguyen, and you're listening to the Emmy Wealth Builder podcast, where we celebrate incredible immigrant success stories, share proven strategies, and give you actionable steps to build your wealth, freedom, and a lasting legacy. Let's go get it. If you ever think you're too young to start investing, this episode is gonna blow your mind. So because while most teenagers are studying for finals, figure out the prom plans, this guest is now already working on her 11th deal, all before graduating high school and college. So I'm super excited to help you build wealth on your real estate journey by listening to Sophia's story. Sophia, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Tell the audience a little bit about you, about how you even got started in real estate before graduating from high school.
Thank you for having me. I'm 18 years old at this point. I just recently graduated high school and college. I was doing a dual credit program, so I was able to get all those credits done and graduate with my AA degree. And basically, at this point, I've just been working on my 11th deal, which is a flip that I currently have going on just a few minutes away from my house. So basically, the whole story really starts when I was 8 years old, but I'll just give a quick summary on that. When I was 8 years old, my parents started slowly getting into real estate. They both still had their 9-to-5s, worked on a farm and worked in a clinic. So I watched them and I was with them as every evening and weekends and stuff. They were at their houses doing all the work by themselves. I used to say this joke that I always lived at Home Depot. I was just there all the time and I didn't like it at all. I would tell my parents how much I supposedly hated real estate and that I was never going to be a businesswoman, that I was never going to get into real estate like them. But of course, we always say that, basically jinxed it on myself, and now I'm doing my own flip, right? But when I was 12 years old, I went on a family cruise and Bill Allen was there. He's a CEO of Seven Figure Flipping. He kind of not necessarily pushed me into getting into real estate, but I met other investors and I was like, okay, this seems cool, right? And then slowly, they started taking me to events. I started getting more into it. I would ask them to go to events now. And then when I was 14, I met a mentor in Seattle. And he kind of brought me under his wing and I started learning with him and going on Zoom meetings at 6 a.m. and, every 6 a.m. before school and stuff on Mondays. And I would still be going through high school. So yeah, I started that when I was 14. And basically throughout high school, I was just answering the phone. During one of my classes, I would walk out, answer the phone. I would start sending out marketing. And here I am now.
That's awesome. So I love to point to a couple amazing actionable steps that the audience can take. So Sophia was surrounding herself with people who are in real estate, who are doing things that maybe originally she didn't think that she wanted to do. But that proximity is power, right? So if you are in an environment where you are W-2, you may be going to school, you may not know other entrepreneurs, business owners, real estate investor in your circle, go out there and find groups, right? Sophia mentioned that she met Bill Allen through Seven Figures Flipping. So those groups are out there, whether it's real estate, business ownership, entrepreneurship. Those groups are out there where you can find people who are doing things that you want to do. Surround yourself with them. And eventually, right, flipping for Sophia just seems like normal. This is how people do it because she sees so many people doing it that it become within her reach. So that is the first lesson I really want you to take away. Proximity is power. The second thing I really want you to take away is how Sophia is so good with her time management, right? She mentioned that she hopped on Zoom call, which at this day and age, you can hop on Zoom call, talk to your mentors, right? You don't even have to drive 2-3 hours in order to see your mentors, maybe before work, after work, in between during your lunch break. So those are the slivers of hours that are very important for you to take those mini actions that lead to amazing results. So I really love that you share that, Sophia. What are some of the challenges that you run into as you manage school, real estate investing? And at this point, I'm guessing not a lot of people at your school are doing that. What are some of the challenges that you kind of went up against as you navigating this as a teenager?
I would say one of the biggest things was actually telling people what I was doing. I was very embarrassed for a long time to tell my classmates or friends that I was doing real estate. So, they would see me all walking out of class, getting on phone calls and stuff, kind of curious to see what I was doing. And I was just like, shut off. I didn't want to tell anybody. Eventually, I did slowly start telling friends, like, oh, I go to real estate events. Oh, I'm trying to get a house, just little things. For the most part, they were pretty supportive. They would cover for me when I would have to get out of a class and go take a phone call. I think the biggest thing was just time management, and I had to learn how to manage my time. I would get little apps and put little calendars and say, okay, this is just my schoolwork. This is my life stuff. This is my real estate stuff. Like, I would always say that I was living two lives because I'm like, my school is my 9 to 5, right? I was like, that's what I'm doing for most of my day. Then in the afternoons, I'm trying to set appointments or trying to go see a property with my dad, whatever it is. So definitely time management and being embarrassed about what I was doing was a big thing for a long time.
I love that you share that. I think a lot of our audience can relate. What you just shared there, right, is that the secret identity, it's something that you do outside of what society often consider you as a teenager, right? Those are not two common identity that people associate together. Like as a teenager, if you say like, yeah, I'm going, which I don't know what teenagers do these days, go to the mall. I'm not sure if that's still a thing. But like if you said like what you're doing, right? I'm like, yeah, like that's a normal thing for teenagers to do. So for the audience who's listening, right? If you're fully working on a W-2, you may have this secret identity that is going to be hard for you to share to what Sophia said, right? You might feel a bit embarrassed, then maybe that fears of judgment of what people think if they know this is what I'm doing. And I experienced that too. So my background, I was a scientist for like almost 10 years. And it was really hard for me at first to share that I was doing real estate investing. There is that little bit embarrassment. There's a little bit of fear of people judging. This is what I'm doing. And for me, the thing that really helped me shift my mindset was I really want people to see that like, hey, this is what a real estate investor looks like. It's not one of those on TV, big screen, dude holding a briefcase, but it's just normal people like you and me who are building wealth outside of the W-2. So that shift in mindset of like sharing about what things could be possible helped me shift out a little bit of that mindset and go more to just sharing this is what I'm doing. I want to ask you about probably one of the biggest questions our audience may have is that as a teenager at that point, how do you balance the funding? Because at that point, you go to school full time. So I'm sure that would be the main question that a lot of our audience will have. And maybe even the challenge that a lot of our audience will run into is that how do they come up with the funding for their first project and then continue going with that?
Yeah. So when it came to funding, I've definitely run into some challenges along the way. I think in a world already full of investors raised next to you and next to the mastermind, I've already known so many people that know my story. They know my parents. And usually I feel that if you were a teenager, or just a young person in general, without those connections, it would be a lot harder. So I've definitely been blessed with those things. And I think sometimes I've been embarrassed to be like, oh, like I feel like I'm relying on my parents sometimes, but it's like, use those resources. If you have them, why not use them, right? And it's taken me some time to finally accept it and be okay with it. But I would reach out to people that I knew, such as Bill Allen, and say, hey, look, I have this project. Here are the numbers. And here are the terms that I want to work with. Do you have money available? Because you never know who has money, right? Your next door neighbor could have just cash sitting around or in the bank or wherever they have their money, right? And a lot of people invested in stocks and stuff like that, just extra cash. And you never know until you ask, really. And it never hurts to ask. People are more than willing to invest their money. And especially when you have a story that they love, that is something that they want to support, right? And definitely, I mean, of course, it has to make sense for them. But even just at this event, I was asking some people that I've known for years now, hey, if I have a flip coming up or something that I need money for, do you have money available? Is that something that you'd be willing to do? And they're like, oh yeah, for sure. Send me a message on Facebook when you have something. And it just starts by putting yourself out there and asking, right? That's all it took. I would ask people. And that's how I found private money lenders.
I love it. One thing I always love to say is asking is free. So you can always ask, right? And the result is either the yes or you're back to where you are before you ask. So asking is free. So I love that you mentioned how you just start conversations. A couple of things I want to structure there as people consider building the capital phase for their deal. What Sophia has done is that she surrounded herself with people who are doing this a lot. So that's what brought back to my first point is that if you're in an environment where you may not have people who are doing this, surround yourself with the people who are doing this, right? The second point that Sophia brought up is you don't know who has money and who doesn't have money. So those people may have money who is sitting in a stock market. Maybe it's a retirement account from previous job. This is the money that they can put to work to invest with you. So Sophia is essentially aligning herself with people who may have money and then just start conversations, right? You never know who may have money at that point, who may not have money in 3 months from now. The money always goes up and down. So it's always important to have multiple people that you can always reach out to. What's the important things I want to point out there is that Sophia doesn't just go like, hey, do you have money? Do you want to invest with me? Hey, here's the project. Here's the numbers. Here's my business plan. Here's the return that I can offer. So those things really spell out to the audience what they can expect. And I think that's really crucial when you are raising capital. So I really love that you share those points. The other thing I want to ask is a lot of our audience may like, man, I don't want to like lose other people's money. Do you have any thoughts, anything's coming up? And was that a concern for you as you start using other people's money to do your project?
I mean, I think it's always something that not necessarily that's in the back of someone's mind, but that's definitely your biggest fear as, borrowing money from someone. Just in general, you don't want to lose people's money, right? It's just the whole thing and it becomes a stressful thing. So I think it's important to focus on the numbers of your deal. If your deal is running so skinny and you bought it at a price that you shouldn't have bought it at, you're not going to sell it for as much. It's going to take an X amount of money to put into it and it's already looking like you might not make it. Do not get that deal. And my mom always says, do not buy a deal emotionally, buy the deal based off the numbers, right? You can emotionally get to know the person that you're buying the house from, the sellers, right? And there's been times where I've, had a connection with the seller, but the home necessarily, I'm focused on the numbers. There is a vision, yes, and there is a plan that we have around it, but if the numbers do not pencil, do not get the deal, move on. It might work for someone else with those numbers, but maybe it doesn't work for you. And in that case, do not stress on trying to pencil those numbers or tweak. The moment that you're tweaking little things, saying, okay, maybe it'll work now, it's not going to work.
I love that. Yeah. I think to your point, there's always a fear, right? And I think that is a good fear to have when working with other people's money because you are steward of their money, right? So it is important to have that healthy fear and be a good steward on other people's money. And I love what you said about always come back to the numbers. The numbers is what's going to tell you if the deal works or not. If you start trying to get too creative and these numbers are no longer based in facts, but more fiction, that's where you know the numbers are probably not going to work out. The third point I want to add is this is her 11th deal, right? So she may already know what the numbers look like in her market, but if you are unsure, ask those people around you who are doing the deals, ask your mentors, ask your coach, ask other experienced real estate investors, right? You don't have to do this alone. So you can have other people look at your underwriting and give some feedback. And that's how you can feel confident about the underwriting and now be able to confidently provide opportunities for other people to invest along with you. So those are important key to have. I want to ask about what our audience is maybe wondering is like, how do I even figure out what to focus on? How do you develop your skill sets? How do you kind of then figure out like, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm good at? Tell us a bit more about that process for you.
Yeah, so I've heard people say this time and time again. It's finding your niche and sticking to one thing. Definitely, I've seen many instances where people say, okay, I'm going to do flipping. Oh, just kidding. The next week, I'm going to try a wholesale. Oh, I actually want to have a rental. And it's like, it's okay to want all of them, but focus on one at a time. Once you master one and you can literally do it in your sleep, then you can try to slowly put yourself in the next one. I haven't seen many instances where people that are trying to do too many things at once where it actually works, unless you're just like a unicorn and you just know how to do everything. And I would say to become really good at something too, it just comes down to practice. Like I said, you do it over and over again. It's just repetition and repetition. It's the same thing with anything else in life, with sports, with dating, like whatever it is. It's repetition and putting yourself out there and learning as you go.
Awesome. Tell us a bit more about what you do currently as a real estate investor. So even within flipping, there are so many different tasks. Tell us a little bit more about the process and what is it that you do? And then what is it that now you delegate or find other people to do?
For a while and for the past 4 years, I've been using like myself and all the parts of my business, basically. Yes, I've had some help with my parents teaching me and mentoring me and other people mentoring me as well. But currently, as of today, I have a remote job on the side of having this real estate business, which that just recently started right after I graduated high school. So yeah, after graduating, I got this remote job, just an extra thing that I'm honestly really passionate about. I really enjoy this job. The flip that I'm currently working on, I really tried to project manage it myself and schedule all the people and go to Home Depot and bring all the stuff there, but it just became too much. So the first thing that I said was, I need to delegate and I need to get a project manager. I went to my dad one afternoon and I was like, Dad, how much money do you want to be my project manager? After 3 days, I was like, I cannot handle it. I don't know how you do it. In the future, yes, I will project manage my own property. But for now, I was like, I just need you to do it for me this time. It's too much for me right now. I just started this job and I just graduated and all of this. I was like, it's too much. Please do it. I will pay you. I will get you a bottle of wine, like on top of that. But anyway,
I love it.
Other than that, I take care of my marketing. I take care of going to appointments with my dad to talk to sellers. I negotiate. I do the offers over the phone, sometimes in person. I make up the contract. We go to Stewart Title together, a title company, sorry. But anyways, just basically every other part of the business, marketing, acquisitions, it's up to me.
That's awesome. And that's an important piece. I love what you said about having a lot of practice, right? And that does not just apply to just a strategy, but just what Sophia just shared there. There's so many steps when it comes to flipping that right at this point, when you have other jobs, that you have other things to do, it's okay to delegate and have another partner who jumps on, right? That you can pay so that they can help you take on that project while you do what you do best, right? So to the audience who's listening, like if you're busy, if you have a busy W-2, if you're already busy with family, there is a way to still build wealth in real estate by just staying in your zone of genius and keep doing a lot of what you do well and then handing other things out to other people. Tell us a little bit more about kind of what's next for you. I know you said you just start a new job. Tell us more about what this job looks like and then kind of what's next for you with the wealth building phase of the investing piece.
Regarding the new job, it was just something that came up, something that I was really excited to try out. I think it's going well. It's something that I actually really enjoy and I don't find it that difficult just because I felt that it was what I was already doing in my own business, except it's like 10x, right? I'm this guy's personal assistant. I don't talk about it too much because I don't think I can, but the point is I work on that every day. And on the side of that, I'm also making time for my business and I want to continue working on real estate. I still send out marketing. I still go and talk to sellers and talk to agents here in my area. I have tried marketing to other markets, but 1 week into marketing and I was just like, I just knew, I was like, you know what? I'm not ready for this. I'm going to pause on this other market and I'm going to continue working on what I know for now. In the future, when I learn that market and when I know it well, I will go there. But for now, I'm going to stay in my area as long as I can. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with growing slowly because I want to learn along the way. That's the point. I'm going to continue learning and growing. And I did have a plan to go to Italy and study for a few months, but I'm no longer going to do that since there's way too much going on. But it's okay. Italy will have to wait. And I'm excited, but I still get to be here with my family. That's the cool thing about this job as well. I still get to stay in Washington and be close to the people that I care about, which is one of my most important things. Not only am I trying to make time for the business, for the job, but I'm trying to be there with my family or playing volleyball on Sundays and just hanging out. Right?
That's awesome. I love that you share that you have a W-2 that you love doing. And that's kind of similar to what your skill sets are, right? So really, it seems like the theme that I really want the audience to take away is like Sophia is like super focused. One thing that a lot of entrepreneur runs into is the shiny object syndrome. And it is, not gonna lie, it is a hard question to answer sometimes, is whether to focus or to pivot, because there is a right time for both of them, for either of those steps, right? And so what I really want the audience to take away is that Sophia was mentioning how she just really wants to be really good at this one strategy at these specific steps, and then even very location specific. So once she's really knows those things, then now you can consider expand out to other market, get to know those market, and now your effort would be a lot more well spent during that expansion. What has the transition looks like when you move to a W-2? You're still working remotely. Do you find the time management differ quite a bit before when you were in school versus at this new W-2?
Yeah, I definitely find it more difficult now because the last 2 years of my high school years, I was completely online. So I found it very easy, right? I was just working on my business, here on the computer doing my schoolwork, getting it done for that week, basically. And then for the rest of the week, focusing on real estate. But definitely now with this job, there's more of a schedule. There's things pending and things that I have to get done, meetings that I have to go to. And I'm like, okay, let me see if I can get this done in the car while I'm on my way to my flip. It just kind of becomes a mess sometimes, but it's just something that I have to learn how to keep scheduling and figuring out. Like this podcast, I'm not sure if I rescheduled it once or twice, but it just came down to scheduling conflicts, right? And it happens, hence why it does feel a little more stressful, but I'm learning to slowly get in the groove of it.
I got it. That's awesome. Yeah. And I think that is a part of life, right? You're going to go through different phase, and at different phase, you have the power to adjust, to shift, to make things that work for you. So I love that you're navigating that piece. Tell the audience a little bit about maybe some of the biggest lessons that you have learned after now being on your 11th flip. What are some of those things that you wished you have known earlier when you first started?
I wish I would have been more open in the way of like talking to more people. I was more shy and reserved back when I was younger. And I think that just came from not feeling like I knew what I was talking about, or feeling, I don't have experience in this yet. Though I don't consider myself the greatest ever. I don't know everything, but I do feel that I am still learning as I go, but that I've learned so much just in these past few months from not only this job and from these flips that I've been working on lately, and just being way more involved than I was able to be before because of school.
It can be difficult when you're first getting started to put yourself more out there. And the approach that I'm still learning and embodying is the concept of documenting versus teaching, right? If you're just documenting, there's no right or wrong. Like you're just learning along and just sharing what you learn. And so you're the authority of what you learn. So I think that kind of removes the pressure of like, I gotta know a lot before I share things. So I think that's great that you share about putting yourself out there more, because with that, it's gonna come with more deals, more partner, more money, more potential private money partner that can come along, right? I also want you to share that on acquisition, because it sounds like that where you focus a lot on sending out marketing and negotiating, all that stuff. Give us some of the lessons or advice that you have found that help you being so successful with that process.
I would say that it just comes down to listening to sellers and really taking the time to hear their story. And I think I'm barely starting to comprehend that now. I'm not perfect, and I spent a long time being shy and not knowing what questions to ask. But now it's just like, ask anything. There's so many conversation starters and there's so many things that you can find in common, but it's just about hearing that person out and saying, how can I provide this service to them? It's not about me making money from the house, right? Because houses come and go. Those are, again, just material things basically, but it's how can I provide a service for this person that has something going on, that is struggling in some way or another, that really needs to move for some reason, right? And even if I can't buy their property, who can I refer them to buy their property? Maybe an agent, maybe another investor. So just things like that. How can I provide a service, and how can I be just there for them? How can I listen and be a good listener, right? I typically felt that when I was younger, I would tell myself that I wasn't a very good listener, that I liked talking more than listening. But when it comes down to real estate, you have to let the other person talk. And though you are controlling the way the conversation goes, because eventually it's going to lead to them selling their property. You still hear them out and you take the time to really see why it is they're wanting to sell. It's important.
I love that. I think that's such an important skill set, regardless of what you do. The listening skills and really hearing what people are saying and what they're not saying. Just like what Sophia was saying, she's learning, she's improving, and it's a part of it. So I love that you share that. With that, I definitely want to switch over to the mystery question. So this is a question that was left behind by previous guests. And your question is, how has the vision of success evolved over time for you?
For me, I would say, especially when I was younger, and I say this, I'm 18, I'm young, but when I think younger, I'm like, okay, like 15, 16. I would say when I was younger, I was more focused on maybe a lavish lifestyle. I would see like real estate investors and CEOs with their mansions and their pools and all their cars and who knows what else they have, helicopters. But over time, I think it's just become a lot more simple. And now I'm just really looking to live on a farm. And my next big goal is to just get a new car. I've been driving a 2011 Honda for years now. I don't know, really lately it's just been about spending time with my family. I don't go around spending all my money. I make sure that it's allocated to different areas and definitely to reinvest it again. Occasionally, I'll get myself a haircut. I'll buy some Walmart pants or something or on Amazon.
Or save for that Italy trip that will happen someday.
Yeah, it's just the little
I
things.
love that. Yeah, and I can really hear that because when you first share about your job, you mentioned how, you get to work remotely, you still get to be here with your family. So I really hear that the family piece is important for you. And I love how you share that vision of success change because I think for a lot of us, right, we get bombarded a lot through, like I said, TV show. And I think that's what gave us the embarrassment in the first place to share that we are real estate investor because there is that image that comes along with it that I think doesn't align with how we see ourselves. And so I love you share how that vision changed. Now it's more about family, about living on a farm. I love that. So I definitely want to see if you want to share any charity, any organization that you want to give a shout out for. You've given us so much time, and I definitely want to make sure the audience can support a charity or a cause or an organization of your choice.
If you guys want to make donations to the Seven Figure Foundation, they do amazing trips. We get to go build houses and beds for kids and just a whole bunch of different things. It's a beautiful thing. It's a cool experience.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for spending time with us today, Sophia. I know you have a new job and schedule has been busy. So I really appreciate you spending time jumping on and sharing with our audience what's possible, even when you're at a young age, and what's possible when you just go out there, have conversations, and just take actions. So thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to chat with you again in a few years.
Yeah.
Bye.